Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. It's a beautiful, beautiful Monday here in Northern California. I'm joined by my co-host the most in beautiful Chicago. Best time of year. 2-4, Cortez Branch Jr. And Cortez, before we get started with the burial, if you have any thoughts before we get into it, let me know.
I'm coming in hot, okay? Number one,
Okay.
I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna mean this.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't play physical football, you lose the game. Number two,
Yep.
if you allow a quarterback who is in a slump to beat you as badly as he did, you don't deserve to be the head coach of your football team.
Mm-hmm.
I know the coach doesn't play, but it's the coach's job to put the players in a position to win the game. Doesn't matter if one guy gets hurt or two guys are hurt. You have to be able to put together better schemes. It doesn't change the fact that they're calling plays that don't make any sense. One team realized that a team is extremely defensive and physical. That was going on in San Francisco. So what do? They don't go away from play action. The other team decides they want to try to stand in the block and throw the ball down the field. Incomplete pass after incomplete pass, interception, incomplete pass, 3 and out. You can't do that if you want to win a football game. You can't do that. And the thing is, what did Shanahan do? Was sitting there with his clipboard in his hand, his Microsoft Surface tablet. Pay us, Microsoft, for the free promo.
Please.
I don't subscribe to that type of football. San Francisco fans don't subscribe to that type of football. And I guarantee you that the rest of the football-loving country outside of Kansas City doesn't subscribe to that type of football. Shanahan's never beaten Andy Reid.
Nope.
Not once.
Nope.
Not in the regular season, not in the postseason.
Nope. Never.
Andy Reid doesn't break a sweat when he sees Shanahan on the other side.
Nope.
Patrick Mahomes never looked like he cared because he knew that he was just going to beat them down because his coach was going to outcoach them, even though he's playing like crap. You can't tell me Patrick Mahomes outplayed everyone else on Sunday. You can't tell me that.
100%.
Is he still great? Yeah, he's 6-0. Only 6-0 team in football right now.
Correct.
They should have lost that game.
Should have lost the game. Let me actually, for those who watch on YouTube, this shirt I'm wearing right here, what it says, 1994 San Francisco 49ers, NFC champions, right before Super Bowl 29. This January 29th, is the 30th anniversary, 30th anniversary of the 49ers' last Super Bowl win.
What's crazy is for me that I watched it, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But then you think back and you're like, wait a minute, weren't Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice on the team?
Yeah, T.O. wasn't even on the team yet. He wasn't even in the league.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the league
was drafted the next year, 1996. So
yeah,
Jerry Rice, Deion Sanders, Steve Young, Bryant Young, of course, bunch of yep. I mean, you know what we're talking about right here. So, you know what? Y'all, fuck it. Fuck it. Okay, just fuck it. That's where I'm at right now. Okay, this team, this season, fuck it. All right, just fuck it, man. Because I'm sitting here. I have been to Levi Stadium for the past decade. I've seen Kaepernick. I've seen Jim Tomsula. I've seen Chip Kelly. I have seen Shanahan. Yes, I've seen the worst. All of you Shanahan defenders out there, I have seen the worst. And guess what? I want him fired, even with the worst considered. How many chances are you going to give a guy before you realize he's never going to get you over the hump? Seriously. Did I pay $25,000 to go watch a team play one of the greatest games in overtime just come out short? Hell no.
Do you think they would have been better if they would have tried to do a rehire over the summer?
I don't know. And then, thank you for that. What did Shanahan do after Super Bowl? We got fire Steve Wilkes. It's the defensive coordinator. That's gonna fix everything. I'm guilty of sipping that Kool-Aid. I believed him. Yep, it's the DC. That's all it is. Change the DC. The defensive
it's Shanahan.
The defense will shape up. That's what they collapsed. They couldn't stop Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Couldn't get stopped saving their lives. Yeah, nosebleed. Nope, couldn't do it. We need a better defensive coordinator.
I think Shanahan's the problem.
Of course, it's Shanahan. Shanahan is the problem. From Super Bowl 51 against Brady, from the Super Bowl 54 against Andy Reid, from the NFC Championship game against the Rams. I mean, and now this, which I had a front row seat to, Super Bowl 58, and now again the same story, the same movie. I've seen this before.
Do you think that he should get credit for getting them there, or do you think he doesn't get
credit? Sure, let's give him all the credit in the world.
But you now believe that he's not the man to get you over the hump.
Let's put Shanahan and the 49ers almost got us a Super Bowl Hall of Fame. Let's put him in the NFC Championship Hall of Fame. 4 NFC championships.
What are some situations where a team gets somewhere and the coach still gets fired, and the very next year they win a championship with a different coach? This happened in Golden State. This happened in Tampa. Mm-hmm. I believe this also happened in Las Vegas.
I mean,
well, not Las Vegas. It was Oakland back then, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Oakland, but it was actually Tampa. It was actually Tampa because it was
Tampa got their coach.
Because John Gruden got fired from Oakland, he went to Tampa, then they got Gruden, and then it's that was pretty much game over at that point.
No, I thought they traded for him.
No, I think Oakland, Al Davis got tired with Gruden, so he fired John Gruden, and then essentially then he decided, and John Gruden knew the entire playbook. And so that's basically how, when the Buccaneers, the 0-2 Bucks, that team was built by Tony Dungy, by the way. The 0-2 Bucks, they actually, yeah, right. 0-2 Bucks, it's funny. Oakland fired Gruden, and they made the Super Bowl the next year. They lost, but then the Bucks hired Gruden that same offseason after firing Tony Dungy, and then they won the Super Bowl. And then Tony Dungy ended up winning the Super Bowl a few years later with Indianapolis and Peyton Manning. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and you know what? I mean, everyone gets a piece of the blame. Kyle's scheming, Kyle's lack of adjustments.
Wait, no. Oakland traded Gruden to Tampa.
No way. They traded him. What did they get?
Yeah. $8 million in cash. Okay, so I'll read this for. It says, go ahead. In 2022, Oakland Raiders to Tampa Bay with John Gruden. Gruden led the Raiders to back-to-back playoff appearances during his final 2 seasons in Oakland. Well, at that point, his final 2 seasons in Oakland.
I got you. Talk to me.
And he compiled a 40-28 record during 4 years in Oakland. However, Raiders owner Al Davis didn't want to give Gruden a big contract and traded him to Tampa for a first-round draft pick in 2022, a first-round pick in 2023, and a second-round pick in 2024. The Buccaneers also threw in $8 million in cash. Gruden won the Super Bowl in his first season in Tampa, beating the Raiders in the championship game.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? It's funny because people would say, oh, if you fire Kyle right now, I keep hearing this narrative on Larry Krueger, on, other other Niners, reporters, their podcasts, their shows. If you fire Kyle right now, there's 5 different teams lining up who are going to hire him in a heartbeat. He's one of the top 3 coaches in the NFL. That's great. That's fucking great. Go ahead. If someone else wants to take a chance on him, by all means. By all means.
Did you know that they consider Sean Payton to Denver a trade?
Yeah, it was a trade. I mean, it's interesting because obviously New Orleans got some draft capital. I mean, both teams are pretty much just sneaking up the joint, yucking up. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that is what it is. But
wasn't Sean Payton out of coaching for a couple of years?
He was out coaching. I think he maybe was still under contract, and then he basically
because he retired, right? He didn't quit. Yeah. I mean, he didn't get fired. He retired.
Yeah,
because he retired, they had the way they were going to do it is he was going to come back, but they owe the other team some money because he's coming back to a different team.
100%. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, whatever. But anyways, come on now. I mean, Sunday, they allowed the defense. So back to the defense. Nick Sorensen. Okay, For all intents and purposes, Kyle's probably gonna keep his job before the end of the year. But Nick Sorensen, the guy who you hired to replace Steve Wilkes, did you see the 33-yard scramble from Mahomes heading into the third or fourth quarter? That was inexcusable. That was inexcusable.
I told you Mahomes wasn't even playing great.
That whole game, Mahomes was at his weakest. The Chiefs literally were handing the game to the Niners on a platter. I have never seen this. Is easily the weakest Chiefs team the Niners have faced in the Mahomes Reed era, easily. And still, not only did they not keep it close, they got punched in the mouth and they got dominated from wire to wire. I mean, yeah, of course, Mahomes, Reed, yeah, like you said on our last episode, they're not unbeatable, right? Yeah, of course, it's this year to find ways to win, but that's what makes them so great. When they're at their weakest. So here's the difference between Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan. All right. When Andy Reid's teams, if they're down and their quarterback's not playing well, and you know their game plan, their scheme isn't working, Andy Reid adjusts, and he's a master at adjusting, and he changes his game plan to find ways to win.
Kareem Hunt was like the most impactful player at that point.
Right, and Kareem Hunt had a terrible game too. And then you see Kyle on the other side. Maybe it's Christian McCaffrey being out. Maybe it's the O-line. I mean, here's another thing.
I mean, he lost Deebo Samuel. He lost Brandon Ayuk, and he lost Christian McCaffrey. He's lost his targets.
That doesn't mean anything, though, bro, because the fucking Chiefs were without Rashee Rice. They were out Isaiah Pacheco. Juju Smith-Schuster played like one snap or one series, and he went out. Travis Kelce was barely unnoticed. Patrick Mahomes sliced and diced. Didn't he? Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes sliced and diced the Niners defense with fucking Noah Gray. Have you ever heard of Noah Gray?
No.
Do you know Noah Gray?
No.
I don't know Noah Gray. I know him because of some. Yeah, now you know him now, right? I mean, and then Mahomes, like he trucks, Mustafa, a rookie. But obviously, Mustafa was probably one of the bright spots on the defense all game because he was swarming at the ball. He was stopping the run. He was charging 15 yards from the back, 15 yards, from the end, obviously the back end to the backfield to break up tackles and tackle Kareem Hunt, one-on-one in space. So, it's crazy because this team is so far removed from the team of my childhood, literally my childhood, because the 90s were the last time they actually were a Super Bowl championship team. Steve Young and Jerry Rice, I still remember watching them when I was a kid, and like you said, it's crazy to see how far it's been, how long it's been. But anyone who remembers those moments, obviously, I still remember the late 90s when Brett Favre used to come and beat us down. That's pretty much what the Chiefs are now, but just augmented to the next level. Because they're not just beating us up. They're dominating the entire league while doing it. And it's just, it's insane. It's insane. The Chiefs are not playing at their best ball. The Chiefs have not been playing good since last year. They shouldn't have even won last year, and they still did. But they're finding ways to win, and that's what makes it scary. Imagine if the Chiefs start playing at their full potential. It's not just that.
That's why I feel like they're going to come out of the AFC, and I don't think
there's absolutely
that's going to stop this from happening.
Yeah, this three-peat's happening. We're about to see, ladies and gentlemen, we're calling it now. We're going to see history made this year. You're going to see the first ever three-peat in the Super Bowl era. That's it. I
think it's super probable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible that someone beats them, but
it's not.
We would have to see.
But until it happens,
I'm going to say around week 14, 15, 16, that's when we'll really know if anybody is really capable of beating them just from their gameplay. I do want to segue a little bit. Did you catch wind that Miami is getting ready to reactivate Tua Tagovailoa?
Oh my God, yeah. But we'll get there in a bit. I'm not done yet. I still have to. I still have to air my grievances. All right, because
no problem.
Yeah. Let's. I want to stay on this point. Obviously the Chiefs are the class of the NFL. The Kyle Shanahan 49ers are now 0-5 against the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. Since 2018. You know what? Yeah, of course the Chiefs have your number, but I saw at a certain point, let's just call it what it is. This is not a rivalry anymore. This is a one-side beatdown. This is a domination. The Chiefs have now literally bludgeoned the Niners into oblivion to where any hope or any chance, that's what Kyle does. Kyle gives you the hope.
I'll be honest, I never thought it was a rivalry. Cincinnati and the Chiefs are more of a rival to me.
Absolutely, because Cincinnati actually beat them a few times in the regular season and in the postseason. I mean, they haven't
Joe
won a
Burrow
Super
was
Bowl, but
owning him at home. Well, his home.
absolutely,
They used to call
absolutely. I
it
mean,
Burrowhead Stadium.
yeah, they were. I mean, it's interesting, but you know what? I mean, that's exactly it. Like, I mean, and if you're, I love Brock. I mean, Brock's on my wall. I have his autograph. But man, if you're gonna get paid $60 million, I mean, $60 million, you can't throw 3 picks, and you can't turn the ball over in the end zone in the fourth quarter. Like that's Jimmy G type shit, man. That's what got
This
Jimmy
was
G
by
shipped out of
far
there.
this was by far the worst game that he's played.
Right. 100% worse than the Ravens game, and I have
Yeah.
if anyone's curious about the Ravens game, I have a lot of those clips on my shorts on YouTube. You can watch Kyle Hamilton picking him off the end zone.
Yeah,
Very
this was
similar.
the worst game that I've seen him play all year. This is worse than the Ravens game to me.
Yeah, much worse. And obviously, since that game, I think he's turned over the ball over 26 times since the Ravens game on
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah,
last year. So
he he's
he's been in a slump. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, he's in a slump, and he really needs to get it together and realize that like I got to play with these other guys because my guys are out.
Yeah, and I mean, and unfortunately, I think that's just basically what he is. I mean, if you, I mean, yeah, he's talked about in the elite, kind of in the elite top tier, QB category. But the issue is, if you look at his record against elite defenses, especially against man defenses, he hasn't fared well. He's struggled. He struggled against the Ravens. He struggled against, the Bengals. He struggled against obviously the Chiefs. He struggled, against the Brian Flores Vikings. Last year he lost to them. People forget Brock Purdy didn't just lose to the Vikings this year. He lost them last year too. Like
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, and I hate to be a doomer, but yeah, I mean, honestly, this year, if they make it anywhere short of an NFC championship and Brock doesn't ball out, like
they're gonna burn it down.
yeah, they have to burn, especially if they lose next week to the Cowboys. I mean, if they lose next week to the Cowboys, they have to consider fire sale the entire squad. Trent,
They're gonna
Debo,
burn it down.
yeah. I mean, everyone has to. Everyone is basically free market. At that point, a free open season at that point. Because I mean, at what point do you? I mean, 5 years they've made five. They made four NFC championships. They've won two. They've won two of them. They've made two Super Bowls. They've lost both. I mean, it's really hard to keep that level of continuity unless you are like, the
Yeah,
Patriots or you're like the Bills. And like, you got the question, which coach has won right after the next year after being fired? Andy Reid, everyone brings up the point, Andy Reid took him 20 plus years before he started winning. It took him 20, 21, 24 years, whatever it was, because he was hired in Philly in 1998, 1999. He coached there for like 16 seasons. Then he got fired. He went to KC in 2013. He built and assembled that roster. He took Patrick Mahomes, and obviously, like the dynasty was born from there. But like, so he was coach for 20 plus years, and everyone's comparing Kyle Shanahan to Andy Reid. But like, it's a completely different dynamic. I mean, Andy Reid, for those Eagles teams, I don't really believe Andy Reid had all the weapons at his disposal in Philadelphia. But like, he still led that team to the Super Bowl, and they were an earshot away of beating the dynasty Patriots. So I guess that's when people compare it. Oh, it's like, Andy Reid, he almost beat the Patriots. Well, Kyle Shanahan, he almost beat the Chiefs, and he lost. He almost beat the Patriots too, right? With Tom Brady, in
well,
his second
I brought
run.
this point up because I wanted to say 49ers could
Yes.
probably get some pretty decent returns for trading Kyle Shanahan.
Well, I mean, that's exactly the point. I mean, either they trade him
I wouldn't
or
fire him.
they
I would try to trade him.
yeah, I mean, either you trade him, you try to, figure things out. It's just, but here's the problem. I think our
Would you
owner,
trade him
Jed York,
for Josh McDaniel?
no, I wouldn't trade him for Josh McDaniel. Josh
Would you
McDaniel's
trade him
not.
for Mike McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel, no, not really either. I mean, Mike McDaniel is more or less the same. I mean, you see what he's doing in Miami. It's not really going to be any much of a difference. Who I would trade him for? Let me tell you who I trade him for. If he's on the market, he might not be.
Don't say
I would
Matt
trade him.
Eberflus.
Nope, not Matt. Never Matt Eberflus. I would trade him for Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson.
Ben
That's
Johnson.
what Ben Johnson
So you trade a head coach for a coordinator. Okay.
I would do it because I think what we've seen from Jared Goff and what we've seen from the Lions since Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson have taken the helm, you've seen Jared Goff emerge into what he was drafted to be, the first overall pick, looking like the actual first overall pick, an elite
I think
franchise
a
quarterback.
49ers job would be very attractive to most coaches.
Well, another thing is that I think one of the Achilles for the Niners, which is Art Kyle's most backwards thinking philosophy as a coach. One of the Achilles that we talked about this, the Achilles of the Niners that the Lions don't have is the offensive line. They've built one of the best
Yeah.
offensive lines in the league. Kyle Shanahan is against that for whatever reason. I don't know why. He wants to win. Someone brought up the point. Kyle Shanahan likes to win on his terms. He doesn't like winning, like you said, traditional, sound, fundamental football.
Yeah, he wants to win on his terms.
He wants to show these new creative looks. He wants to show these new creative play designs. He wants to show the play action. He wants to show like, I can do this with a running back. I can flex him out wide. I can make Christian McCaffrey into a receiver. I can make Devo a wide back. I can make, a Brock Purdy, win without a top 10 offensive line. What's the point of all that? What's the point, Kyle?
That's the question that we're asking ourselves.
Why don't you want to build a top 10 offensive line? Look at the Chiefs. Creed Humphrey's the best center in the game. I mean, go down the list. The Chiefs, I think as an offensive line, the Chiefs are like top 10 or something like that. And it's been that way since last year. I mean, and I'm not sucking off Mahomes or Reed, but that's how you win. That's how you win championships. That's how you win football games. You don't get away from the fundamentals.
I'm frustrated with losing to the same guys over and over again.
Yes. I'm very much frustrated. Because you know why?
In my life, it's been the same thing for all my teams. Like, for example,
right.
The Bears have a really big problem with not beating the Packers.
Right. But that might change this year. That might change this year. With Caleb, he's looking good. He's looking good. So that might change this year.
I'm more happy about this defense.
Yeah, this defense looks really good. And so, the Bears and the NFC North are now actually this year, they're actually the class of the NFC right now. But all my colleagues, everyone I talk to, yeah, man, the Niners are definitely the class of the NFC. Oh man, don't worry about it. If Christian McCaffrey comes back, you guys will be right there. And I think that's what Kyle's banking on. I think Kyle knows that, if Christian McCaffrey does not come back and he's not 100%, then this season's over. This season.
Yeah.
Of course, people want to say, oh, in 2022, Niners started 3-4. Guess what? They were able to go on an 8-game win streak. And guess what? They made an NFC championship with a rookie quarterback. That team had DeMeco Ryans. That team had TJ Jones. That team had Jimmy Ward. That team had Azeez Al-Shaair. All Pro Bowl level talent across the ball on the defensive side of the ball. That was arguably our greatest defense in franchise, in the Kyle Shanahan era. It wasn't just Brock Purdy, but it was Brock Purdy too. He should have won Rookie of the Year. But at the end of the day, you can't compare. It's not apples to apples. Yeah, 2021. Oh yeah, they started 3-5 or whatever, 4-6, and they made the NFC championship. Oh, they finished 10-7. They went at 2022. Oh, they started 3-4. Then they went on a 9-10 game win streak. They finished 13-4, made an NFC championship. You can't just continually think that because what happened is going to continue. This schedule is brutal. This schedule is absolutely unforgiving. The Cowboys are coming to town next week, but they're coming off their bye week after being embarrassed by Detroit. Then the Niners go on their bye. And then they have to go play Green Bay or Tampa Bay. Then they have to go play Green Bay. Then they have to go play Buffalo on the road. And they have to play Seattle, who, by the way, just blew out the Falcons. And the Rams and Cardinals, if they won those games, then yeah, maybe we can see here more optimistic. But this is where we're at with this team. Damon Bruce said today on his podcast, well, Niners fans will follow Damon and Larry. If you had any hope or expectation of a return to the Super Bowl or winning a championship this year, like an actual Super Bowl championship, all that's gone. That's what Sunday proved.
Well, it's just crazy. Like I said, we'll see what happens. The Bears do have the hardest schedule out of the rest of the NFL right now.
But yeah, absolutely. But
hardest schedule of the rest of anybody's season. It's crazy.
But the good thing about the Bears is that the Bears are still a very young team, and with young teams, like you saw the Packers last year, when you're young, you tend to play with more confidence because you don't know what you don't know.
That defense is for real, man. Caleb is learning, but that defense is for real. That defense is ready to do some things.
100%. So
if Caleb can carry the offense and his players that he's got on his team, he's got some weapons. If Cole Kmet keeps emerging as like the replacement for the, Hollywood tight end.
Thank you for
Because I think that's what's
Mhm.
happening. Is Cole Kmet's emerging
Yeah. Yeah, Cole Kmet looks
over the
really
past game
good.
this season.
Yeah, Cole Kmet looks really
If
yeah, go
this
ahead.
happens, then the defense can beat anybody.
Right.
The defense can beat anybody.
100%. No, I think the Bears are looking
It's
much
gonna
better.
be it's gonna come down to if the offense can.
Right. I was gonna say, kind of, with all of that, kind of what we're talking about. I think the Bears, NFC North, and we're gonna get there. I just want to close out, the recap of the Niners and the Chiefs and kind of the future expectations for the Niners for this season and beyond. Let's say the Niners go on a run. Let's say the Niners somehow finish 10, 11 wins and they end up going to NFC Championship. Yeah, sure. But that doesn't absolve them of what we saw this year. At least not for me. I
We're not
mean,
getting great football from them. We're not getting great football from them.
we're not getting great football. Yeah, you might be able to finish, and people say, oh, yeah, but the Chiefs didn't play good last year. And then people said the Niners. And I went to all the Niners playoff games. Yeah, of course. I mean, they didn't play their best football against Detroit, against Green Bay. But like that's what happens sometimes. You don't have to play your best. We got to close out these games. That's what the Chiefs did yesterday. They didn't play their best, but they closed out the games. So essentially that's kind of what needs to happen. I think
Do you think Kelsey retires after this season?
I'm sure he does. So but yeah, let's just anyways, let's go and transition. Why don't you go and recap the rest of the Sunday, kind of talking about Miami and Chicago. Let's go. And Sunday night.
Well, we'll talk about Miami first, and this is going to be one of those serious ones for me.
Mm-hmm.
The Miami Dolphins are activating Tua Tagovailoa, which is their quarterback who has had concussion issues over the last couple of seasons. And Tua Tagovailoa has elected not to wear the deemed safer version of the football helmet, which has a guardian cap covering the helmet to decrease the trauma from shots to the head. And I just want to say that it's what are you thinking, man? Like, you want to make the decision because you think, I don't know if you think you look tough. I don't know if you think they're just going to shake off the fact that you have like a jelly for a brain, but you're going to end up ruining the rest of your future for just a little bit of extra glory. Like, your team's not doing great. Your team's not probably not making the playoffs this season. Let's just be honest. And you're coming back after many weeks on being on IR due to knocking yourself out, on basically lawn darting yourself into DeMar Hamlin's chest. It's not cool, man. Like, you need to seriously reevaluate what your priorities are. You're a father, you have children. I'll tell you, I've never had a concussion, but if I had concussion issues, I would have hung them up a long time ago. I wouldn't be thinking about playing next week if I had concussion issues, and you've had a lot of them, Tua. And then McDaniels, tell your quarterback to be smart. His head off the turf again. And this time he doesn't get back up. Then what? Then what are you going to do? You guys going to say it was in the spirit of the game? It wasn't. It was sad, is what it was. I hope that doesn't happen to him. I hope he plays great. I hope that in the future, he doesn't have any more concussions, and he has a long and happy career if that's what he wants for himself. That's what his family has agreed is best for their family. Unless you have any comments about that, I'm going to move on. I don't think he has any comments, y'all, so we're going to go ahead and just keep moving. All right. Next, we have the what's coming up next is the Bears versus, because the Bears had a bye week this week. What's coming up next is the Bears versus the Washington Commanders. And there's an interesting wrinkle here as the Washington Commanders first round draft pick, McDaniels, is not going to be playing so far. He came out of the last game over the weekend when they were up 20 points, and he came out due to injury, and Marcus Mariota took over for him. And cruise through the game for the rest of it. Obviously, they secured it and they went home happy. But if he doesn't play, I think the Bears' opportunity to beat a team that's over 500 and that's leading their division. I think the Bears have an opportunity to go ahead and step up on that and then really cement their victory. Now, if he does play and they beat him anyway, that really cements the Bears as being a tougher team where they're going to have to watch out for, and not just the NFC North, but the NFC in general. There's a great possibility right now with all these top tier teams losing, creating spots that these other teams in the NFC North can face in the playoffs, and there's a possibility that we could get a bunch of them in the playoffs. Maybe not all of them, but a bunch of them for sure, especially if the records continue to line up. The problem with the Bears, though, they have the hardest schedule. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. They have the hardest schedule left as far as winning percentage goes, and that's not going to be easy on a rookie quarterback. But if there's anything this guy seems to be about, is rising to the occasion. So Caleb gets to rise again. I mean that with no puns intended. I'm not on that train of thinking. I will say though, you're all good. I will say though, as I finish up with these two, if Daniels plays and they lose, and the Bears have a convincing victory against them, it will put the rest of the NFC on actual notice. Like, okay, these guys, they actually got it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have everything put together yet, but you got to watch out for them because the longer the season gets, the more together they're going to be.
Right.
We're still talking about a rookie quarterback trying to figure out the game speed. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah. No, sorry y'all, but I'm back. And yeah, obviously my partner, appreciate you co-hosting, running the show.
No problem.
Yeah, obviously Bears look good. Now let's talk about NFC North. All right. Detroit, like we predicted, Detroit beat Minnesota. So, yeah, Minnesota. Very, very tightly contested game. Very, very fun matchup. Detroit now sits at number 1 in the NFC North. The Bears and the Packers. Packers beat Houston. Bears. The funniest thing is the Bears are at the bottom of the division and they're 4-2. That's incredible. The NFC North is the class right now. Like I said, the joke that people were not a joke, but people were saying to me, my coworkers, "Oh yeah, the Niners, they get healthy, the class in the NFC." Fuck all that. New year, new season. The class of the NFC is the NFC North Division. That's it. Detroit was
a whole lot of good football there.
Detroit was this close to winning the NFC Championship last year, folks. I was there. And now, look at Detroit. When the Niners play Detroit again in December, because we do have to play them in December, what's going to happen. Detroit's going to have that game. Detroit, I'm going to tell you right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, all of the leaders and the veterans on that team in the locker room, they have that game marked on the calendar. They have that game marked. They know
100%.
They have that game marked because they know exactly what's at stake because they want their revenge. And just like how the Niners took their revenge on Philly last year because they felt like Philly had no business being in the Super Bowl, Detroit has that game marked because they're going to prove to the entire NFL. That's what they're saying. They're saying, when we play the Niners again, we're going to prove to y'all and we're going to prove to the league that they had no business being in the Super Bowl.
I feel like Detroit's the front runner to make it to the Super Bowl this year.
I think so. Well, from the NFC. AFC, obviously Chiefs, but from the NFC, Detroit is my front runner. I agree.
I don't see two more complete teams.
Yeah, people say Green Bay, but Green Bay hasn't really shown too much to me this year. They barely beat Houston. I got Detroit and KC, and honestly,
I'm never choosing Green Bay.
Yeah, I can't choose. right, 100%, man. Chi-Town life, but
let me explain why. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are teams that have gotten to the Super Bowl without having a Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Right. The Niners.
The Packers have won 2 Super Bowls
with Hall of Fame quarterbacks
in about close to 40 years.
Yep.
With 2 long-term Hall of Famers. One is still in the league playing for another team, and he left because the organization was falling apart.
Or so he thought. Because now, I think Green Bay got the better end of that trade.
Of course they did. What I mean by falling apart is it was falling apart for him. the administration that he knew, the coaches that he knew, the players that he knew, they were all getting old and retiring, and the administration was getting switched out, and it wasn't a good fit for Rodgers anymore. Doesn't mean
100%.
he'll be welcome back into Green Bay with open arms, but that doesn't mean that right now he's focused on it. Like even when Green Bay still wins, he still cheers for them, which you've seen on his pages.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, Green Bay, the continuity of great quarterback play, to your point, is just incredible. I mean, Bart Starr, then they had a lull in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, I guess, because Bart Starr, won the first 2 Super Bowls in the NFL history for Green Bay. And then a little bit of a lull in the 80s, but then they went in the 90s, they got Favre from Atlanta, and then Favre, like you said, was there for nearly 2 decades. And then they decided to kick him out for Aaron. And Aaron was also there for almost 2 decades. And then basically now they got Jordan Love, a young upstart quarterback.
Yep.
So, I mean, Green Bay is looking good.
I just don't choose them because, in my opinion, when you have that type of talent, you should win more Super Bowls.
I absolutely agree. Matt LaFleur's Kyle Shanahan. Let's just call it like it is. I mean, yeah, he beat KC last year, but I mean, that was due to a no call on the PI. So I mean, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I don't think Matt LaFleur is going to win a Super Bowl. He very well could, but I don't see it. Sean McVay did. Sean McVay got lucky. I think Kyle Shanahan is a better coach, Sean McVay, but does that mean anything? If Sean McVay has a ring, Kyle doesn't? No. Sean McVay has a ring, Kyle doesn't. I mean, that's it. And mind you, back on that point, Kyle and the 49ers are leading 17-7 heading into the fourth quarter. And then the Rams scored, was it 13 unanswered? And then they end up going to Super Bowl and winning it. So the Niners could very well be sitting here with a Super Bowl, and they couldn't do it. But yeah, I was gonna say, fuck Kyle, man, get out of my fucking brain. I mean, that's enough. Sorry, we're talking about teams that are gonna do good. And back to the point. Green Bay is Green Bay. They're in the mix. But I like Detroit. I think Detroit is the most complete team in the NFC North. I think they're the most complete team in the NFL outside KC. Secondary is a little bit suspect. I'm not going to say they're not, but I mean, without Aiden Hutchinson, they still went into Minnesota and beat Minnesota at home. Jared Goff looks great behind that offensive line. I love Dan Campbell as a coach, man. I love that he goes for it on fourth down. He's fearless. That's a coach that you want to play for. It's a coach that guys, I would love, if I was still playing, I would love to play for a coach like that. Detroit has all the ingredients, at their disposal. And that's a team that anyone can get behind, When I went to the NFC Championship last year, Detroit fans were the most courteous fans I got to engage, both pregame and postgame. It was a great experience. Playing, I got to see I've seen the Packers play the Niners so many times. I've seen LaFleur bring Aaron Rodgers come 4 or 5 years ago when Jimmy G was our quarterback. Then I saw, LaFleur bring Jordan Love and then obviously, against Brock, and then Brock ended up beating them, and then I saw, but now the last year was the first time I ever got to see the Lions play. I saw Jared Goff play when he was with the Rams. I want to say 7 years ago when he played against Seattle. I have that clip on my YouTube of that game back when they were at USC Coliseum before they moved down to SoFi. But this version of Jared Goff is unlike any other version I've ever seen. I mean, this guy is just, he looks so Peyton Manning-esque. And kind of the knock on Jared Goff, he's not mobile. You don't have to be fucking mobile. I mean, was Tom Brady mobile? No. Was Peyton Manning mobile? No, of course not. Tom Brady averaged 1,000 rushing yards after 24 years of playing in the NFL. I mean, come on now.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to scramble. You have to, again, fundamentals, man. Patrick Mahomes likes to get out of the pocket, and the 49ers couldn't contain him in the pocket. Patrick Mahomes is not that fast, but he's very elusive with his running. That's what makes him so dangerous, because if the first tackle misses and you saw the second guy whiffs, then that leaves an opening, and then you can't leave the middle of the field wide open for Patrick either. It's just terrible. I just think it's poor tackling, poor defensive play. The team probably feels like shit right now. So, I mean, but I like Detroit, man. I like Detroit. That's the Motor City, Like we talked about the Motor City Machine Guns making their debut on SmackDown on Friday. I like Motor City Lions, and that's the team I'm pulling for to win the NFC, and that's the team I'm pulling for to win the Super Bowl. That's my new Super Bowl pick. Yep, you heard it here first. I am not picking the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. I'm changing my pick. I got the Detroit Lions over the Kansas City Chiefs. If the Chiefs win, I won't be surprised, but I'm going with the underdog. If the Detroit Lions make it, I got the Detroit Lions beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 24-21. Jared Goff, Super Bowl MVP. You heard it here first.
Right.
Now, let's move on. We saw Russell Wilson start over Justin Fields last night. It was a blowout. Who did they play?
The Jets.
Yeah. They played Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, but that's Robert Saleh. Oh, yeah, Robert Saleh is the problem. We have to get rid of him. Like, what?
I don't think Robert Saleh was the whole problem. I think that team has a lot of dysfunctionality that needs to be fixed.
The problem is they're the fucking Jets. The problem is Woody Johnson. The problem has nothing to do with Bob Saleh. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? The problem with the 49ers isn't – the problem with the 49ers isn't Steve Wilkes. It was never Steve Wilkes. It was Kyle.
Every time.
Why do head coaches – why – it's not even head coaches, because I don't understand how guys are able to keep their jobs so easily, fly under the radar. And then the actual problem is never addressed because it's the owner. Oh, the owner likes the head coach. Jed York loves Kyle, man. They were together during Super Bowl 29. Kyle was the ball boy. Mike Shanahan was OC of that team. Of course, there's that lineage, there's that history. Ed McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan. Of course, the York, Eddie DeBartolo is his uncle. I mean, yeah, ties run deep, bro, but it's a business. And if Jed York keeps Kyle Shanahan, this is the craziest part. You know what I found today, bro? Kyle Shanahan is on pace to be the longest tenured coach in 49ers franchise history. Did you know that? Longer than Bill Walsh. Yeah, longer than Bill Walsh, who was there for 10 years with Joe Montana and won 3 Super Bowls from 1982 to 1988, 1989. Longer than George Seifert, who won 2 Super Bowls and was there from 1990, 1989 basically, to 1997, 8 years. So yeah, he's already in year 8.
That is insane. So that brings us finally. What do you got on your predictions for Monday Night Football?
Gosh, who's playing that? I'm sorry.
I got you right now, man. So I
wasn't
paying attention to it either. I believe Buffalo is playing.
No. Buffalo played. I think Buffalo beat Tennessee over the weekend, 35-10. That's another team to look out for.
They did. They whooped them. Buffalo could probably take down Kansas City right now.
I mean, but you know what, man?
Ravens.
Well,
we got 2 games tonight. We got the Ravens and the Buccaneers, and we got the Chargers at the Cardinals. I think I'm going to be watching more of the Buccaneers and the Ravens game.
Yeah.
Right now, the Buccaneers are up 7-0. Mike Evans already caught a touchdown. So,
man, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Do you think the Ravens come back, or do you think they're both 4-2, or do you think that Tampa's at home? Do you think that Tampa takes it?
It's a tough one, man. I like Baltimore. They're a really good team. But I like Tampa too. They're also a really good team.
I think I'm going to go.
They're both better.
34-31. Tampa wins by a field goal.
Yeah, something either high scoring, low scoring, but I think it's going to be a margin of 3.
I think it's a high scoring game. Tampa scored on the opening drive.
Yeah, see, the game's happening right now, and that's why I'm not a betting man, folks. I'm so indecisive. I can't bet money.
So the game that didn't start was the Chargers versus the Cardinals. That's an interesting game because both teams are kind of like lower mid tier right now. If not, tier. Why do the Chargers and the Cardinals get the later slot? I mean, that's not a prime time matchup. I guess because Baltimore and Tampa are both on the East Coast, so that's why they move. They get the. That's probably why, because it's a West Coast game.
Well, I mean, it's a West Coast game, but like I'm here on the West Coast. No one gives a fuck about the LA Chargers, and no one absolutely does not give a fuck about the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, you go anywhere in Phoenix. I live in Phoenix. Yeah, they have to move. I lived in Phoenix for a few months. It was a beautiful, and I want to go back and visit because it's the best place to go in fall, especially if you want to go Grand Canyon. But and I actually came to visit you when you came and played your the Vegas
Yeah,
Bowl
you were
back
coming from
then.
Phoenix.
Yeah, I came from Phoenix. Yep, I drove up to 4 hours from Phoenix to watch my boy play. This is back 2019, back in Vegas.
That was such a
I
good
forgot.
game.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was a good game for y'all. That wasn't really a good game at all. It was a 42-0 blowout for anyone
We
who
whooped
cares.
their ass. I had a bunch of touchdowns in that game.
This guy, yeah, he was just running it up the gut against these dudes. It wasn't. I was like, I was falling asleep.
They weren't stopping me that day.
Yeah, I was falling asleep. I was happy for my boy, but
I mean,
I
you saw
shout out
the
to you,
I didn't play after the third quarter. Like after that last touchdown, he was like, "You got 200 yards. Go sit down."
Yeah, then and the coach was like, hey, when I came out to him, he's like, hey, wait a minute, you're Ali. I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey man, he's like, yeah, but coach, that's one man. You know what I mean? I jumped over a fence. I dapped up to one. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey man, why aren't you playing? I'm like, oh shit, I didn't have to play. He's like, yeah, you should have got at me. And so coach and
Yeah, you
I
could have got
mean,
out there.
I actually know coach's his brother-in-law, Marvin Lewis.
Yeah,
Marvin People. That's the name. I apologize. Marvin Peoples,
Marvin
man.
Peoples.
Yeah, my peoples. Yeah, we worked together at Blue Cross Blue Shield when I was living there in
That's
Chicago.
what's
But
up, man.
yeah,
So I
no,
think what day do you
yeah.
guys? So mind you, Raw's already started. So I don't want to I don't know the Raw card.
Oh no. Yeah, sorry, that's the main event. I just want to get my
Yes.
grievances out. Okay, let's go.
So Raw's already started, and I
What's happened
haven't
so
I haven't
far?
turned it on yet, obviously, because we've been here for over an hour. But
Yeah.
Raw hasn't started. I mean, Raw started, and I think we're going to see a lot of crossover from SmackDown on Raw tonight.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, because Gunther, because Cody challenged Gunther to come on SmackDown, so I think Gunther's going to probably kick the thump, hit him back, say hey, yeah, you come on my show, you're a quote unquote secondary champion. It's gonna be interesting, to see that. But yeah, I mean, excuse me. Gosh, long day, just being angry at the Niners.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think kind of what we're gonna see. We're gonna see more of the build between Bronson and Seth. I want a face to face. I mean, if it's not this week, next week. I want face between Bronson and Seth. I also want to see if American Made will kind of come back, on the show, and they're gonna have.
I think they are. I think they're getting pushed right now.
I mean, but what's the push though? Are they gonna get the belts? I mean, what are they gonna do? I mean, I think American Made has to take the belts from Judgment Day, and then go from there. But yeah, sorry, to continue the our conversation going. Obviously, Rhea, Liv, Nia, that's going to continue.
That's continue tonight.
Question for you:
we might get a tribal chief because he released a new shirt today.
What did it say?
It says your tribal chief.
I love that. Talk to me though. What do you think is going to happen with the second kind of the second iteration of Jimmy and Jay and Roman? Because I want to know what your thoughts are. Obviously, Jay is IC champ.
I think that somebody from the outside, or I think there's only two ways it's going to go down. Either somebody reaches out to Jay from the outside, or which is also inside the family. Has to be somebody else from inside the bloodline to reach out to Jay. We noticed that there's some tension between and Jay planted the seeds of tension against the Tongans. I think they show up and beat them up on Raw tonight.
There you go. Yeah, I think
if they don't all show up, Jacob Fatu will.
Right. I think, I really think that if Jay doesn't cross over, doesn't pledge allegiance tonight, so some elder statesman or someone, I don't know, there's going to be some defined moment that's going to cause Jay to come over. Maybe at some point the punishment against Roman and Jimmy will be too much for Jay to say, okay, you know what? He's not going to say all is forgiven, but
yeah,
it's going to
be sway him. Get y'all asses whooped like this.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like that. I'm not going to let y'all get your ass. He's about to say, I'm not going to let y'all get your asses whooped like this. You're my little brother. This, you know what I mean?
And he made a promise. He told Jacob Fatu, if you don't stop looking at me like that, I'm going to knock your ass out.
Yeah, no, that he's playing this that perfect storytelling, plants the seeds. We know it's coming.
I mean,
perfect segment.
It's not like that's the thing that people don't understand. This is not a story of two factions. This is a one family, and that's what Solo's character. Solo's character has gotten infinitely better in the last month.
Yeah, he has. I mean, Solo has actually improved drastically. I know people don't like Solo, or they don't think he's main event material, but he never was meant to be. I mean, I've said that so many times on the show. Solo's character is supposed to be a guy who you don't like. You don't want him, like almost like a Wade Barrett, where you think like he's not Cena, right? But it's okay because like he's the guy you want Cena to beat. Solo has made himself so unlikable. You want Roman to beat him, but I would not be surprised if at some point he gets a world title run at some point because he could definitely carry that belt. Maybe not to the level of like drawing, you know what I mean, but at least the level of like working with the guy who is the draw. That because honestly, people say Triple H was a draw. He actually never was a draw. Triple H was the guy who worked with the draw, and that's how he made the money because Triple H's peak was working with The Rock, was working with Austin, working with Taker, even Angle and Jericho at some point. But Triple H himself was never really a draw because he never really drew money. When you watch SmackDown Raw during the Ruthless Aggression era, the SmackDown was a superior brand because Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle were much higher draws. Eddie Guerrero as well, much higher draws than Triple H. But back to the point. I was gonna say, I agree with you. I like that. I like the direction they're. I'm curious to see the direction they go in. And yeah, SmackDown too. I wonder if they're gonna continue that kind of the theme of Bloodline getting the upper hand on Roman and Jimmy. Maybe this will be the final week they do that, and maybe it'll be Jay's debut to come back to kind of rejoin forces with Roman and Jimmy. And then maybe we'll have Gunther, Cody have like a back and forth here on Raw tonight, and again on SmackDown on Friday. So, man, I mean, our podcast is sports, to everyone listening, I love my 49ers. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret going to Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I love the experience. Of course, I want to win just like as bad as anyone. But at a certain point, everything comes to an end. This is the NFL, man. I mean, you can't, like Kyle is emotionally attached to players like Colton McKivitz and others who have been underperforming for their entire tenure. And those are guys you have to decide if you're going to keep or sink or swim. The organization emotionally gave into the contract demands of Brandon Ayuk, who obviously is now out for the season with MCL and ACL. The organization gave into the demands of Trent Williams, who really didn't need that much money. That wasn't a team-friendly deal. You didn't need to pay him. Like you and I talked about this. Like they kept saying we need to feed our families. But like, why do you need to get a 3-year extension, man? Just take the 1 year, prove it, make it a prove it deal, and keep going, man. I mean, like it's just all these things, this amalgamation of all these variables, all these little things just kind of added up to where we've seen this basically grow into basically a dysfunctional kind of situation where obviously they're injured to some degree, but great teams make it through these injuries like the Chiefs. And, that's who you're being compared against because you've proven that you can get there, but now the expectation is to win it. And if you can't win it, then yeah, you have to go, man. Like, I'm sorry. This is the 49ers. This is a team that basically just kind of hangs around. Yeah, we haven't won this century, but before the century, we were 5-0. We had never lost the Super Bowl. Eddie DeBartolo fired Bill Walsh because he didn't feel like he was doing enough in terms of winning perspective. And George Seifert came in. You asked the question when we started, which head coach got fired and then the next head coach won his first year? The answer was George Seifert. Bill Walsh got fired in 1989 after winning Super Bowl 23 with Joe Montana. The guest of the show, Randy Cross, was a member of all three of the San Francisco 49ers' first 3 Super Bowl runs. And then George Seifert came in and he won in 1989, 1990, the next year. So, again, I mean, this is the NFL, man. Like, if you don't win, you don't win. And you know what? Thank you, Kyle, for all the memories. But I mean, at a certain point, man, like I can't sit here and gloss over this repeated lack of attention to detail, this repeated lack of unwillingness to change, the repeated lack of unwillingness to take accountability. Like you don't have an identity, you don't have a way to run the ball, you don't have an established offensive line. You have a quarterback who's basically proving his critics right at this point, unfortunately. Because of the fact that he's going based on your play action scheme, and you're not calling a play action, and you have these guys, you're dropping Brock back 10 times a game, and you have Jacob Cowling, who I think he's going to be a great player, but he's a rookie. Ricky Pearsall on his first game, and George Kittle, like those are your options, and like Juwan Jennings. I mean, like you don't have any receivers who could beat press man coverage, and I really feel like defensive coordinators have figured out this offense. They figured out Shanahan. And they figured out the fact that like this team against man, when you man up against this 49ers offense, they can't do anything. And if you can't prove to me and prove to the faithful that you can't adjust and beat these schemes, then you've proven to us that you are basically what you are. You're Mr. Good enough, okayest to get us there and not win.
I think he's proven that he's not the guy to move forward with. No, it's not saying he's a
100%.
bad coach. It's just that he can't do
No,
anything else with this team.
absolutely. No, this team has run its course. I think he's lost the locker room. And I just think at this point, you really, I mean, at a certain point, you have to fire. If the expectation is winning, I mean, if Kyle is here, Grant Cohn said this on his podcast. If Kyle is the longest tenured coach in 49ers history, if he's here past 10 years and he hasn't won a Super Bowl by that point, then that shows that this team is unserious. It shows that this team only cares about revenue. This team does not care about winning. They're basically the Dallas Cowboys of the West.
Yep.
I mean, you know. So that said, I'm not going to hold you here, brother. I know you got, some Raw, you got some football to watch. Any final thoughts?
Man, I've been out the house since 4 a.m. today, and I just got back and I started it with you right away.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, baby. Yeah. And I think I posted your game. You have a game coming up in Missouri.
So I play in Nixon, Missouri on Saturday.
Okay. Anyone in Missouri?
And October 26th at 2 p.m. You can find us on Score 58 Network. That is the Score 58 broadcasting network. Looks just like ESPN for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But the Score 58 network, you can look them up on YouTube. You can look them up on Vimeo. You can look them up on Facebook. You can also look up their website and find those games. If you guys follow our socials like you used to, mine is still Soul Reaper 24 on Instagram. I will be posting a link. It's also Soul Reaper 24 on Twitter, or X as it's called nowadays, as well as Digitally Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. So you guys need to go ahead and follow us over there. You're gonna get, probably some exclusive clips if you guys go ahead and start hitting that button.
Yes, sir. You'll be able to get more clips, more content. So please continue to follow, subscribe, like, share.
Some of Ali's IRL.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the 122 strong. We definitely appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening to me on a very, I don't like coming in here and bashing, being a doomer, but hey, man, I mean, I look at it from the vantage point of long-term success. I think short-term win now, Kyle's the answer. But the problem is now we have seen the short-term, and the short-term is proven that's not good enough. There's nothing wrong with rebuilding. Steve Young said it. This team will eventually win. It's just going to look different. It's going to be a different set of guys. It's going to be a different set. Might be Kyle, might not be. It might be Brock, it might not be. Unfortunately, and I love Brock. But I mean, it's just one of those things. Until Brock can prove to us, that he can beat elite defenses. Until Kyle. I mean, Kyle has already shown us. So I'm not going to give him any more latitude. Win this year. If you don't win this year, you have maybe one more year maximum. If not, then pretty much, then he has to go. I mean, 9 seasons. I mean, and you can't win a Super Bowl. Yeah, you made it there, but I mean, come on, man, you got to win. Of course, against the alternative, Jim Tom Sula, Chip Kelly, fans. Yeah, the fans will scream, "Oh, you're not a real fan. Did you remember when we had all those bad years with Chip Kelly and Jim Tom Sula? Did you remember when we were 0-? Yeah, of course I remember, jackass. I was there for those games. I went to Levi's. Did you? Of course not. You couldn't afford it. So that's exactly the point. I mean, I have been there to see Kyle Shanahan start off 0-10 and then win 5 straight at the end with Jimmy Garoppolo, then go and without Jimmy Garoppolo not win, and then basically they take Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. And then obviously Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, in my opinion, I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I don't think he is elite just yet. Unfortunately, I thought he was kind of teetering there, but really he has to show that he can beat these elite defenses. The great ones find ways to win, like Tom Brady, like Peyton Manning, like all these guys, like Mahomes, right? That's who you're being measured against. So, I mean, essentially, I think that this team in its current iteration will not win the Super Bowl, obviously. But I'm hopeful and optimistic that, if they decide to make a change, from the top, it needs to come from up top, though. It needs to come from Jed York. If Jed York is happy selling tickets, he can, keep selling tickets. Kyle's his boy. They've known each other since the last Super Bowl of the Niners. But I really think that this team is going to have to make some serious changes if they really want to get out and get over that 30-year Super Bowl drought and actually win the Super Bowl championship. So it won't be this year. We'll see what happens, in the offseason. And we'll see what happens if they lose to the Cowboys, if they fire sale everyone. And again, the reason, I guess another reason why I don't mind it, bro, just, to anyone listening and anyone watching and anyone who cares, the only reason why I don't mind the Niners rebuilding is because I want to just enjoy life outside of football. I don't want to have all these expectations of a team winning a Super Bowl just to come up short every year and just to not deliver against KC. Like, it's the same story. I've seen it, again, I've seen it multiple times. What's insanity? Repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what insanity is. And that's where we're at right now. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Obviously, we got some great games on right now. You got the Bucks, you got the against the Ravens. You also got Chargers and Cardinals. I'm sure that game will be good because both teams are mid-tier teams. I also think that the Raw will be great tonight. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna close out with this. Thank you all for tuning in. Keep subscribing, keep sharing. And yeah, keep spreading the word, and we'll be back hopefully end of this week.
George Kittle is injured now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Dre Greenlaw ruptured Achilles. Jake Moody with the ankle. Juwan Jennings a hip injury. Javon Hargrave triceps. The 49ers have a crazy injury. So okay, I'll go over this again. The 49ers released their injury list up today. Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is probably out for the season, guys. Deebo Samuel has pneumonia. That's what he had. That's what was going on with him yesterday. George Kittle hurt his foot. Talanoa Hufanga, wrist injury.
Yep.
Yeah. Trey Greenlaw, Achilles injury. Jake Moody, ankle injury. Juwan Jennings, hip injury. Javon Hargrave, triceps injury. That's most of your starting roster, guys.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
I say it's time to pack it in for this season.
Yeah, it's time to pack it in. But you know what? I'm gonna be excited. See, let me honestly be honest with everyone. Like, I remember when I was on Facebook like 5 years ago, and then I remember I was cheering for the Niners 2019. And everyone said, I don't remember you cheering for them last year. I don't remember you posting about them last year. I'm like, I didn't have to post about last year because they sucked ass. I got to enjoy football and watch Tom Brady make history and win 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots in his last run there, and I got to go watch him play at Soldier Field. I got to watch the Bears make the playoffs with Mr. Trubisky and win the NFC North. I got to see all this fun football, and because I'm a fan.
That was a fun season. That was a fun season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of the game. I don't, if the 49ers aren't going to win the Super Bowl, I'm okay with that. Like, I want to be able to enjoy good football. I don't mind watching the Chiefs dominate every single year if it's as long as it's not against the Niners. But unfortunately, it's been against the Niners multiple times. So I have to just,
they are a monolith in the National Football League. So
they absolutely are.
One last question. Are we going to get any surprises on Raw tonight?
I don't see any. And I know that's what WWE banks on, right? The element of surprise. I mean, I know maybe Drew comes back. Maybe not. I want to see Seth, and I want to see the Seth and Bronson Reed kind of that dynamic. I really want to see that.
That Chad Gable inserts himself into the title picture by interrupting Cody and Gunther today. That would be perfect.
Yeah. No.
It's not gonna happen,
it looks like it? Well, because the promos that they're the kind of little vignettes that they're showing, like the ones last week, it's a full American Made stable. It's not just Chad. An American Made, again, like we talk about, the American Made has not won anything yet, and so I think eventually what they're going to do is they're going to put American Made, in the forefront of winning championships.
Well, the Judgment Day is battling tonight for their championship titles.
Yeah, but who are they battling?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, so. Yeah, maybe American Made takes the belts from JD and Finn, and then they're gonna figure out something to do with Chad. Maybe Chad goes after the IC belt, and then Chad wins the IC belt. I need Chad to win a single style, bro. That's where I'm at. I need him to win it. Like this flag on this belt strap on my shoulder, Chad Gable is literally, like you said, the fans have blessed him with the USF chant. Like, Chad needs to become the next Kurt Angle. I need to see it. Kurt Angle's my favorite wrestler of all time. Ken Shamrock is up there, and I need to see it, man. I need Chad to do it. So I hope he gets a belt, title reign, push, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. We'll see what happens. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday. God bless.